All right, so I'm going to review the Breville Bambino Standard Edition, not the Breville Plus. When we were shopping for an espresso maker, we could only really find reviews of the Plus, which I already knew that I didn't want that because, frankly, it seemed like it was just more money for the added feature of having an automatic steaming wand, which I used to work in a coffee shop. I know my way around espresso enough to be able to use one myself. And frankly, I just don't really trust automatic milk foam. It just sounds like it's going to end up being a super frothy mess. So I wanted this one. And it also has the bonus of taking up even less space than the Plus does. As you can see, it's super slim, doesn't take up a lot of space on the counter. And yeah, I will go ahead and talk about the hardware first here. So it comes with a tamper, comes with the wand, and there's a nice water tank in the back, and then also the portafilter, which comes with two baskets, including a single and a double. And this is the double. The handle itself is very cheap hollow plastic, so that makes the entire portafilter feel kind of cheap, which I don't love. You can kind of tell how low quality a lot of this construction is by the feel of it. The tamper itself is especially lightweight and cheap feeling. It is very hollow plastic, not at all heavy. So you may want to get your own if you prefer to have something that does feel kind of lightweight and decent quality, because that's definitely not it. The milk pitcher I had to get separately. It does not come with one. This is a 20 ounce, and frankly, it's almost a little bit too big, and I might actually recommend going with a 12 ounce. You can use a 20, especially if you like making pretty tall drinks or if you want to make two at the same time. But the reason why it's kind of too big is that the wand is very short. As you can see, you have to kind of overfill the pitcher a little bit just to be able to submerge the wand. And that was sort of the first thing that I noticed the first time I tried to use it. So that's something that you'll have to get used to, and I'll go into that a little bit more whenever I actually froth some milk. But yeah, it's also got a strange little finger grip thing. I don't know why you'd really need that. And this part is rubber. And yeah, the construction of the whole machine itself is mostly plastic, really. So it makes it definitely feel kind of cheap, kind of low quality, kind of lightweight. I think how light it is kind of part of the benefit of it at the same time, because it's really easy to move around on your counter or to store away if you don't use it that often. So that is sort of nice, but at the same time, it just feels like it's not very high quality. And fortunately, the pitcher that I got comes with this tool, and you're going to need something like this if you do ever want to change the basket on your portafilter, because this thing is almost impossible to take off unless you have a little thing to pry it open. So that's what this thing is hanging out up here. That does not come with it. That came with a pitcher. So anyway, overall, for $300, it feels like a $300 espresso machine. Definitely a lower quality physical product, but the essentials of it do work fairly well, and I'll get into that in just a second here. All right, so now I have tamped my espresso and I have locked in the portafilter into place. So just like pretty much any other machine, you stick it in sort of slanted to the side and then turn it counterclockwise to lock it in. One thing I will say is that when you try to lock or unlock it, the entire machine moves because it is so lightweight and frankly kind of cheaply constructed, to be honest. But I think that that's something that is also somewhat of a benefit. It is so small and lightweight. That's kind of nice. But at the same time, you'll have to just make sure you do things like hold the whole thing down whenever you're trying to lock or unlock the portafilter. So into some of the basic functionality of it. This is pretty straightforward. It works like the other Breville. Either of these two buttons turns it on. It has a single shot extraction and a double shot extraction. And the other two buttons are for the steaming wand. The top one is just for hot water. So this will spray out a kind of hot, very thin needle-like stream of hot water. And the bottom one is the aeration feature, which is probably mostly what you'll be using. I have used the top to make Americanos. I like very little water in my Americanos, since I'm only trying to pull about 4-ish ounces of water. It's been useful, but the stream is so thin, it would take a while to fill up a cup if you're somebody who likes a much taller Americano. But it kind of is amazing how fast it heats the water, and it comes out pretty much right at perfect drinking temperature. So that's nice, and it is faster than, say, the electric kettle over here, which would take a couple of minutes. So let me go ahead and show you what that's like. It's kind of strange. The wand is something you'll have to get used to if you have used cafe quality steaming wands before. It takes a minute to kind of warm up, and then it also takes a minute to kind of cool down after that. So it's not very responsive, which can be a little bit frustrating, but I'll just show you an example of the hot water feature. Okay, that's that. All right, and I'll get to the steaming feature in a second whenever I try and steam some milk. So as you can see, super thin stream. It's fairly warm right out, and it warms up really quickly, but not a very robust stream of water. If you need a lot of it, like a whole cup of tea or something, I wouldn't say it's a good replacement for a kettle. So anyway, so next up I will try and pull a shot, I think. A couple of things that are really nice about it, though, are also the manual shot pulls. What you can do instead of the kind of default shot extractions, you can actually program the volume that you like to have pulled, and that's in the instructions. I won't go into that, but something I've seen pretty much everywhere in other reviews, and something I've experienced, is the kind of factory default for these really kind of under extracts your shots, and you end up with really fast shot that's under extracted, and it's not really great. But what you can do is, by holding the button in, either of the two buttons, if you hold it in, as long as you hold it in, it will start pressurizing and pre-soaking all those grounds. And supposedly, as long as you hold it in, it will keep doing that, but eventually it just starts coming out anyway. But as soon as you let it go, then the shot starts coming out, and that's and then it'll keep going until you stop it. So I mean, I guess if you wanted to, you could fill up a whole cup like that, but wouldn't recommend it. So that's what I like to do, and that is what I will go ahead and do right now. I'm just going to go ahead and put a big mug there and do this for an example. So holding it in, you can hear it getting to work. And then I'll let it go. And out comes the espresso. So not too bad. All right, we're gonna stop it. All right, and a lot of residual dripping. So again, not the most responsive, but kind of comes with the territory. So, all right, so next up I will show the steaming wand. All right, now one thing I will say right off the bat about the steaming wand is it is really short. It's you have to, in a pitcher like this, you really have to fill it up higher than what I would normally like to in order to be able to submerge it. So that's not ideal, and especially if you're just going to make a shot for yourself, make a small drink for yourself. It can be wasteful, so you almost have to have a couple different sizes if you sometimes make one for just yourself and sometimes want to make multiple, or if you want to make a bigger drink, sometimes a smaller one. So it's not ideal. I would much prefer if the wand were longer. That's kind of a problem, but again, you're kind of getting what you pay for. So I've already purged it, and we'll give it a shot. I will say I haven't had a whole lot of luck making really good milk with this. I've sometimes gotten it right, but it's been sort of hard to calibrate to how particular this thing works. But anyway, so don't judge me too much. We'll give it a shot. So you can see it's not really that powerful. It's hard to get it quite right. And it makes these sort of pulsing noises. It takes up a lot of power actually to do it. My lights flicker a little bit every time that happens. It doesn't get super hot, so it actually takes a lot longer as well to bring it up to temperature than what I'm used to. And with the wand being so short, I feel like I can't ever really get quite the angle that I'm used to getting. So it takes a lot of adjustment to go from a higher quality steaming wand down to this. And still, after all this time, still not very hot. Eventually it'll turn off on its own, and if you're not doing a ton of milk, that's actually a fairly accurate amount of time, I've found, but sometimes, like now, it hasn't gotten up to temperature yet. So it is not, it's still kind of a little bit cooler than what I would like. As you can hear, there's a really long cool down, but we're gonna go with it. Ton of milk, let me purge it, which is, again, takes kind of a while to warm up. And to cool off. All right. It's a little foamy. Well, we're gonna give it a go. All right. Maybe not my best, but I've certainly paid for worse. So not too bad. As you can see, you can get fairly decent foam. It's not quite as nice as I would have liked, but it's not too terrible. I think this is maybe the third or fourth time I've used this. I think over time I could get used to it and get a little bit better at it. I think you have to kind of adjust to using this thing. If you're learning on it, it might not be that bad if it's the only thing that you're used to, but if you're used to something that's much higher quality, then you're gonna have to make some adjustments for it. But all in all, I think for $300, I don't know that you could do better than this. If I were going to spend more money on an espresso machine, I would probably spend a lot more money and get one that's much nicer. But I think if you want a value espresso maker with a steaming wand, something that's not automatic, something that will allow you to kind of do things manually and play with it and learn with it, and kind of approximate a coffee shop a little bit, then I don't think you can do better than this for $300 unless you get something used. But for the money, it's really really not too bad. It's pretty decent, and I think we'll be fine until maybe one day if I can afford a $1,500 espresso machine, then I'll go with that. But in the meantime, if you're willing to spring a few $100s, as you can see, you can make passable espressos at home. It's fun. It's pretty decent, and overall, I think I would recommend it. And I think I would also recommend it over the Bambino Pro. I don't really know that the Pro has much nicer features for the extra money that you're spending on it. Yeah, this is, as you can see, really got everything you need to make a fairly passable cappuccino or latte. So yeah, overall, I would say go for it if you're thinking about it. If you want something that's really nice, really high quality, this is not it. But if you just want to spend a few $100 and no more than that, and just be able to make some decent drinks at home, this is probably about as good as you can get for as little money as you can spend. So anyway, I hope this was helpful, and hope that you can make a good decision based off of this. Thanks.